Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the Avatar Legends role-playing game. It is a TTRPG that is based on the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra that recently was created by Magpie Games. I was a Kickstarter backer for this game, and so I got access to a lot of this stuff early, and I finally got to sit down and play it. My friend DM'd a game for us for my birthday, so I'm going to explain a little bit about how the game works, and then explain kind of the cool little mini campaign he set up for us. So first of all, Avatar Legends, like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or any of the games like that, is a role-playing game you play at a table with maps and dice and stuff like that. Unlike Dungeons and Dragons, however, Avatar is a 12-sided die game, so it's the only dice you need is a D12, and there's not as many stats as your run-of-the-mill TTRPG. The four stats that are used are creativity, focus, harmony, and passion. And the game doesn't have hit points, it instead has fatigue. You can't really die in this game, right? It's a game based off a Nickelodeon TV show, so it's a little bit more PG than your average game. Also, instead of having classes, there's a different type of training you can have. So you can be a waterbender, a firebender, an earthbender, an airbender, or you can have proficiency in weapons or technology. So waterbenders, right, would be like kind of like Katara. Firebenders are like Zuko. Earthbenders are like Toph. Airbenders are like Aang. And then weapon users, you could think of someone like Sokka. And then a technology person would be someone like Asami from Legend of Korra. Like I mentioned, the game is a lot more. It's toned down. It's easier to understand. It's more targeted towards a younger audience, and right, there's not death in it. Creating characters is kind of fun. There are different types of character sheets that are built along different kinds of roles you might play in the game. So, for instance, I played as the idealist, which is someone who has seen sadness and grief, and you've experienced loss and pain, but you want to make the world a better place. So somebody like Katara could be an idealist. Whereas my wife played the bold, which is somebody who's dedicated themselves to accomplishing great things and exciting deeds and becoming worthy of the trust around you. That might be someone more like Korra, who is born into being the Avatar and is working towards being showing that them being the Avatar is what should have happened. So with that all kind of explained, I'm going to explain the basic gist of how I created my character for this one shot, and then kind of what the story was in the game. I played an earthbender from the lower ring of Ba Sing Se, who was recruited by a secretive organization to go to the water tribe and save the last waterbenders. This is happening right before Katara and Sokka meet Aang. So it's before the show starts. That's kind of where the prompt of which I was given. Basically, the way the story starts is I travel by boat from Ba Sing Se all the way to the Southern Water Tribe, and upon reaching them, I talk to their leaders, Gran and the bunch, about how I've been sent by the Earth King. So I lie there. I've been sent by the Earth King to help defend the last waterbenders because I need their help to fight the war. My lie is convincing enough. I rolled well enough to convince them all that I was actually from the Earth King, including Sokka, who was there when I said it. And with Sokka's help, I set off to find my wife and my son, who were playing the other two playable characters in the game. They were both waterbenders who had been living outside of the village because they felt disrespected after the tribe had done very little to defend the waterbenders in the south. So me and Sokka travel there to try to recruit them to help / come to Ba Sing Se with me. We get there, and I manage to convince the two of them that they should come help because there is a Fire Nation ship on the horizon. They must be coming to search for waterbenders again. With the idea of potentially getting revenge, they join up with me, and the three of us and Sokka return to the village and make a plan to ambush the Fire Nation soldiers when they come to look for waterbenders. When the ship finally does arrive, they drop the prow into the middle of the village, just like they do in the first episode, and soldiers come down looking for supposed waterbenders. They think that there is one. In reality, there is three, and then, of course, I'm there too. We all hide in the back of the village, and we kind of use their laissez-faire searching to take out their initial run. 3 soldiers come down to look, and we manage to knock them out in one round of combat with some excellent surprise battling. So between me and my son and my wife, as well as Sokka, whose boomerang was just fantastic in this little campaign here, we were able to knock them all out. Using that to our advantage, we took the uniforms off these firebenders, and 3 of us dressed up as them so that we could sneak onto their boat and continue our quest for revenge against whoever was on it. Me, my wife, and Sokka dressed up as soldiers, and we brought Katara and my son on board as prisoners. And when we entered into the boat, we were questioned by 5 more soldiers. After a brief conversation and a demand for them to seize what was in my backpack, we battled those firebenders as well, and we were able to defeat them. Afterwards, we rushed the ship, thinking we were going to fight Zuko on the boat, because Zuko was in there, when we were called into Uncle Iroh's room on the ship, and he revealed that I was actually being hired by the White Lotus to save the waterbenders, and that Iroh was actually playing a lot more behind the scenes than we had originally thought in the show. He manages to convince us that we should not try to fight Lord Zuko on the ship, and we instead jump out the window, which doesn't work out so well. We end up making a lot of noise. We fall off the ship. Zuko realizes this and demands we come back on board. We do, and with just the 3 of us, we end up having to fight Lord Zuko on the prow of the ship. We battle him pretty much to a stalemate, in which Uncle Iroh intervenes and tells us to leave, and Zuko stops fighting us because he has clearly been outmatched. In the end of that, afterwards, Sokka and Katara walk up to the village with Aang, having found him in the iceberg. So basically, it was like a prelude to episode 1 of the show. It was pretty cool. Fighting was interesting in the game. It was all based on bending moves and things that you could do. So, for instance, my character, being an earthbender, there was 3 different kind of battle phases, so to speak, in the game. So the first phase was defend and maneuver. So each round you had to choose which phase you would fight in. So there's defending and maneuvering, followed by advancing and attacking, and then evade and observe. And each one of these 3 things was all based off of one of the stats that you had. So defending and maneuvering was all about focus, advancing and attacking was all about passion, and then evade and observe was about creativity and harmony. I was a defend and focus player, trying to defend from enemy attacks and also defend my friends, whereas my wife was playing kind of like a healer who could clear levels of fatigue from us, as well as help attack. And then my son played a bruiser who was all about striking his foes. Battle is pretty interesting. So all of the NPCs make a choice of which 3 of the 3 things they're going to do, as well as you, and then you go in order based on what the DM decides in those blocks. So every time there was a fight, the people who chose defend and attack, defend and respond would go first. And so I had moves like Earth Armor, where I draw rocks up over my body to defend myself, or I could test someone's balance, trying to knock them over. Then advance and attack would go, where they could just strike with their bending, or they might have a special move that they got. They're like they could shoot water at someone or something like that. And then evade and observe was more where you try to uh, stop people from getting hurt, or you see all this happen and then you do something tricky to make them like paralyzed or incapacitated or something like that. And then after all of that, you see where you're at, and then you keep going. And then all of this is based off of a D12 roll. So anything 6 or lower was kind of like a failure, and then 7 to 9 was something good, whereas a 10 plus was something even more awesome. So it was all based off that one die. So it's a little less complex, and it's more DM focused. So the DMs get to make the more decisions on how the battle plays out. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing, and I think it'd be really interesting to see how it would work in a much more prolonged setting, or more of like a campaign style than in this one shot. But it was super fun. The game is going to be available in stores soon. So if you weren't a part of the Kickstarter, you can go to magpiegames.com and pre-order the book and all the materials. You can also find the character sheets and all of the basic tools you need online. The PDFs are out there. It's definitely something that you can start looking into. I hope you guys start to play the game because it's super fun. And if not, that's okay. But thanks for listening to my little rant about how fun it was. And we'll see you out there next time.